It's the dreamscape.
Welcome back, dreamers, to Indie Synergy Exchange, your podcast for all things indie art and creation. I am your host, Tanner Giese, also known as Number 2 Pencil Man and owner of Tanner's Tales Entertainment. Joining me, I have my lovely co-host once again, my bro, Frey Official, artist and talented content creator, my lovely wife, Katie Giese, poet and author, and then we are joined once again with the mysterious Andromeda, aka Rachel, author, poet, and musician. And tonight, we are very excited. We have our first ever comic book writer guest, Adam Matthew Smith.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, wait. Change this here. Yeah. The audience loves it.
Easy, everybody.
I totally forgot I had a soundboard. It's
You
been
guys
so
didn't have to
long.
stand for that.
No, we are super excited to have you here with us, Adam. So, in just a few moments, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself. But before we get started, all of our viewers and listeners out there, I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. And if you would not mind, if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to the channel if you're watching it on YouTube. It really helps us out, boosts our numbers, gets us out there more, helps us build this platform so we can actually showcase indie creators to more people and help spread that way. And if you're listening to us on our audio platforms, Podbean or wherever else you're listening, feel free to rate the podcast and follow us, because that definitely helps us out as well. Spread the word, and if you are an indie creator and you want to be on the show, reach out to us. Without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our guest, Adam. Adam, who are you? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you create.
Hello, I'm Adam. So I am a comic book creator. These characters and these stories are based on characters I created when I was very young, back in the 90s. So I created these kind of some of these like main ideas and concepts and all of these characters. And my idea was I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to grow up and be a comic book artist. So I was drawing and drawing. That was my passion. But I did take a detour into music for years and years. So I kind of left it where it was. And then around 2016, 2017, I was like looking at some old stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to dust these old toys off and kind of see what I can do with them. So ever since then, I've been working on Shadows, which was my first graphic novel. The first part of this whole story, kind of the culmination of Hyperforce. So I released that in 2022. And then in 2024, last year, I released Hyperforce issue 1, which is a kind of like a follow-up series to Shadows, but like a year later. Yeah.
That's really cool that you said you've had these characters like since you were younger,
Yeah.
because the stuff I actually do, I did the same thing. A lot of my characters I've had since I was like 4th grade, 5th grade, and I just kept them in a binder. And when I decided to do the projects that I'm doing, I did the same thing. I just kind of pulled from the binder and made the stories and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
How did you so what's like a general synopsis of Hyperforce?
A general synopsis. So it's basically a cyberpunk future. It's a post superhero future. these characters have extraordinary abilities, but superheroes don't exist. They did in the past, but they've either been killed off or they're imprisoned. And so it's basically this group of um, people, hypersapiens is what I'm calling them, but people with extraordinary abilities coming together to kind of rebel against this oppressive government. So
Yeah.
it starts in Shadows, and Shadows is it's kind of like their journey into like making this team exist. It's 140 pages, so it's kind of like almost like a 6-issue arc would be. Um, so that was like my first. It was a huge endeavor. I can't believe I started with that, but yeah. So this is basically the idea is, in Shadows they kind of take down the vice president who has become uh, a monster, an actual monster.
Mm,
Oh wow.
yeah.
And you said, so when we read the comic, because you sent it to us, you
Mhm.
said that Shadows was like kind of like where it started. So does Hyperforce take place immediately after, or
It's like a year later, more or less. Like I kind of allude to it. I don't exactly tell you when, because in general, this whole timeline for Shadows and for Hyperforce
oh,
is in the future. It's kind of an undefined future, but it's like a far off, not too far off, but not too close future kind of thing, you know? But I don't
okay,
say this is the date because here's the thing, like I love sci-fi, I love it, but then you have things like Back to the Future too, right? And you're like 2015, we have like holographic this and that, and it's like, dude, what? You know, so like I don't want to give it that like like ground it in that much reality to where you can like fact check it that much, you know.
okay,
Oh yeah.
well, that's cool.
That's
Like
why I
having
never
the
mentioned
graphic
time and
novel.
mind stuff either. I'm sorry, Tanner. You were trying to talk. I'm sorry.
No, what were you saying?
I was saying I never mentioned really like a timeline for my stuff either, just in case
It
I
just kind of
forget
makes it
something that
easier.
happened.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm like, I can just like kind of make my own timeline for it. Like, yeah, this happened within a
Yeah,
month ago, or it was a week ago, or
exactly. If you leave it vague enough, you can kind of like play with the
right.
timeline a little bit.
No, I think that's a good rule for storytelling. It's just like, yeah, unless it's like a historical fiction or something like that, that might be good
Yeah,
to
that's a
have a
whole nother
timeline.
thing. Yeah,
Oh
that's a
yeah.
whole nother story, literally.
But then you might get people who might be like, "Oh, hey, it is this year. This didn't happen." If you get like those super fans that are like,
Yeah.
"Hey, this was supposed to happen," and then it's like they
Right,
were let down
right.
because it didn't. So, fictional timelines are better. But I
Yeah,
think
that.
that's really cool with like how you started with the graphic novel and then you went into a whole comic series with it. How
Thanks,
did
man.
you decide to make that jump? Like, did you know you wanted to do something like that when you made Shadows?
I'm just like a really stubborn person, I guess, and like because I had people all along the way of making Shadows like, dude, don't do this. Like, don't do it like this. Like, just do an issue. It's easier. It's smaller. It's more digestible. All this stuff, easier financially. All of this, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You know, so so I did it the way I wanted to, and I understand what they were all saying, but I just had it in my mind. I had this story. Really, one of the big things is that you know, and this is the case, like when you do it issue by issue, people have to wait a very long time between like issue 1 and issue 2, financially probably, mostly if in the indie, in the level we're at in
Yeah.
indie
Mhm.
comics, like we're not throwing them out monthly, like
Right.
We
so like
wish.
right, we wish we could, yeah, absolutely, but just we can't. So like in order for us to be able to like keep them satiated, we have to try to do, at least something annually, if not biannually,
Mhm.
or yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I was like, I want to tell this story. I want to do this to where they don't have to come back in case something happens. And I just, after I'm done with this, I never want to tell more of this story. I want the readers to be able to have a beginning, middle, and end so that they can kind of digest and not like, oh, what's going to happen. I did leave it open. I did leave the end of Shadows open, of course, but at least, something where it's like, oh, issue 1, and then when's issue 2 coming out kind of thing. So,
I
um,
get that question quite a lot.
yeah,
I'm
so
working
that's
on it.
yeah, it's tough, exactly, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm. So yeah, that was just something I was like bent on doing. I can't believe I actually was able to do it, and I did. I funded. I was able to fund it, but I worked at this like independent theater, like film theater at the time,
Hmm.
and had like a really cool like patron pool kind of thing that was really interested in that kind of stuff. So I was able to like get it funded through not just like, people online and family, but like these patrons at this place I worked at. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, so that was really cool. That was really helpful because it was a lot. It was a lot. So and I was working with one artist who JC Grande, who he inked it, he colored it, he did the lettering, so he did all of that stuff. And you know how, time consuming and, you know,
Yeah.
mind splitting it can be. So I think I kind of broke him for a while. He's back, but I think he was kind of after that, he was like, oh man, I needed, you know,
Oh boy, now I know how I'm making Frey feel.
Yes,
yeah.
but it's all
So
good.
yeah, it's nice to have a team, which is on Hyperforce now. I have a whole team I'm working with. I'm not just like, it's not relying on one or two people. So it makes it easier to split the it's kind of faster too, more of a production line, you can, while someone's working on this thing, the next person can be doing that and kind of like, but
No, I like that. So,
You go. No,
oh,
go.
Rachel, go for it.
No, I want you to go first and last.
Okay, I guess I'm going first.
by the
Well,
way, I'm sorry, stop me if I'm talking too much. I did have like a nightcap of coffee, so I'm like, hey guys.
no, this is
Ew.
your showcase, so
Like it.
feel free.
Right.
It's good.
Because I'm in a similar boat with you. So when I was a kid, I used to want to draw, write, do the whole, kablam of it. I wanted to do all of it myself. And over years, I kind of stepped out away from it myself. Like I stepped away from art entirely. I'm working my way back now, slowly. Uh, kind of stopped drawing, which was like something I did all the time as a kid. And as I have been rediscovering my own passion for creative storytelling and just wanting to get my own story out there, I've kind of come to terms with just being the writer and creator and then allowing another person of talent like Frey to showcase his skills with bringing the art to life. Did you have any like internal struggles with like wanting to do it as a kid, wanting to do the art and the whole thing yourself, and then coming back to it later when you actually decided to revive it? What was your like feelings behind that? Did you still want to do the whole thing, or did you kind of know at that time it would probably be better to just work with a team to get it out? Like, what was your process behind it? Because I know for me, it was kind of difficult, but then I just kind of came to terms with it. I'm like, you know what? It's an opportunity. I can give another indie artist some like a showcase on my art, like on my work, and I can still be the person who like controls the story, takes it where it wants to go, and I can still get to push it out, and it's still like a creative outlet for me. So
Sure.
I want to know like how was that for you?
Okay. That's a great question. So yes, as a kid, like young Adam, I would have said, "Oh, I want to do it all. I want to do
Mm.
everything, and I can." And I can. Like we all can. We spend enough time and energy. But, um, like like you, I did not stick with it. So that being said, like coming back around to this whole world, there was never any point in my adult life where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do all of it. Like, like I was like, I would love to, like, like the control freak in me definitely would love to like have my hand in every aspect of it. But something that like when I started doing music and was in bands and stuff, like the team aspect of it and kind of collaborating is really cool. And I haven't been in a band in a while, and I think I kind of missed that. So I was like ready to jump back into like a team, into like where we can kind of like, bounce ideas off of each other and kind of like collaborate. And it's kind of cool to like take my hands off of it. And trust me, I still have a lot to say about things that go on, but like, like to be able to like, if someone has an idea or says something, then I'm like, oh, that's even better now than I was thinking. And you're enhancing this story. Thank you, kind of thing. And it's cool to do that.
Definitely.
That's
What did
awesome.
you grow? I assume you grew up like reading comics. What were you reading when you were younger?
I was reading a lot of the big two, of course, as a kid. That's how I was introduced. I was really into Image Comics as a kid, and I'm sure I'm significantly older than you guys, but um, I like back in the '90s, like I was really into like Spawn and Savage Dragon and Gen 13 and all those comics that were like kind of the spin-offs of like things you've already seen in the big two, but like their own more like raw versions kind of thing. So that was like really cool. I mean, I loved Batman, of course, and X-Men and you know, all the big I never really liked Avengers, to be honest. I was never really an Avengers guy, but yeah, X-Men was a big one. I liked Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and did you say that you wrote like the whole 6 series already? Like you write it all and then you split it up and then have it printed. Is that how that works? Because like I myself am a writer, but it's hard for me to like think in terms of writing in that format. So I'm just curious about that process.
So I so for Shadows is probably what you're talking about, like the six. So this is like I wrote the whole thing as like actually my biggest thing personally has been where I've had to scale back because Shadows, like I said, is 140 pages, but when I first wrote it, I wrote it for 200 pages.
Wow.
And I had to cut a whole two characters out of it. I cut like a lot of stuff down just to financially be able to do it, you know, like but it made it tighter too. It made it better. And I've grown as a writer since Shadows, I feel. So I feel like Hyperforce is even better in a narrative way and kind of more of a zoom in, where Shadows is more like an overview of everything in the world and what's happening. This is more a zoom into these characters and kind of what they're doing. Um, but anyway, not to get off topic. So basically, so I've written out the entirety of this first Hyperforce arc into a second Hyperforce arc. So I write out the arcs, and I think how I do stories in general is I kind of write more the outer framework of things and then kind of fill it in. And I kind of work simultaneously from the beginning and the end because I want things in the beginning to be informed by things that happen in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Callbacks and things like that. So I kind of, I guess, to answer your question, is I do kind of write the whole thing out, and then I kind of go back and paint over it with a nicer stroke, you know.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
That's a good analogy for it.
I want to interject. I really enjoyed it. Like I thought it was really interesting and
thank
very
you.
exciting. It kind of reminded me of Blade Runner for some reason, just kind of like that. Uh, I guess futuristic society, and I love Blade Runner, so I mean that as a compliment. It just had a really neat feel.
That's awesome.
That world was very interesting to me.
That's a great compliment. That's exactly what I'm going for, is like that Blade Runner world.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, definitely resonated.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
definitely think it captures the element of like that cyberpunk dystopian type future. Like the colors that you guys chose for the palette and just like that the pinks, the purples, the deep blues and just the darker color scheme I feel really does help with conveying the time period and
Oh, yeah.
what you're aiming for. So
It's wild. It definitely is wild, and we've gotten some maybe not so positive criticism about it, like the kind of bold choices we made with that. But I think it really kind of gives off the tone for the grittiness, for the intensity, and kind of hints at more of a noir
Yep.
feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because really the thing that I'm trying to convey with this whole thing is really about like kind of the scale of ethics and morality and where these characters fall on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not calling them heroes. I'm not calling them villains. They're just kind of there, and I'm not necessarily calling them anti-heroes either. So kind of this story specifically in Hyperforce, the bigger story is going to continuously show them in a light where you have to decide as the reader, like how moral or ethical are they in these decisions that they're making? Like, are they good or are they bad? Like, it's not necessarily cut and dry, just like in real life, you know. It's not, they're not, I'm trying to do it as unbiased as I can. I mean, I love them; they're my babies. But like, I'm trying to do it, to where it's like it really has to be a question you ask yourself about ethics. So that's kind of more of what I'm kind of aiming for with this, and it has some social commentary and things. But there is a super person element to this, but I try to kind of reiterate that this is not a superhero story. I mean, it has like this is a post superhero world. This is a dystopia. This is a future where, yeah, things like that exist, but it doesn't mean that's what this is, kind of thing. So it's headed in a direction that's like less and less team hero-ish, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So
I think that's a cool, interesting concept too, to write a story with characters that we love, and then just letting it up to the readers to decide their fate in a way. Like, how are they going to be perceived? Will they be the ultimate heroes of the thing, or will they be the villains? I think
right.
that's an interesting stance to take in a writing, and I actually really like that. So,
Thanks.
I do too.
Thanks. So yeah, every issue they'll meet somebody, at least one person that has another stance on this whole hypersapien thing and the evolution of humankind and stuff. And then you kind of have to keep deciding like who do I like decide who's right here. I try to present each side of the argument as unbiased as possible so you understand where everyone's coming from. Because something else I love in storytelling is, and this I'm sure it's not just me, everyone loves this, is like when villains are understandably behind something, like Thanos, for instance. Like, you get where he's coming from. Do you hate him? Do you hope he loses? Sure, but you understand like where he wants the balance, and he's thinking
oh wait,
in his mind that he's doing something noble, so anyway.
Did this story? I'm sorry, am I echoing? Let me.
is it
Hello?
any better now?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Did the story also come from when you designed the characters when you were younger, or was it something you kind of plugged the characters into
Good question.
as you like grew up? Like, did you make up the story like was 2022, and then bring those characters into it, or was it?
Gotcha. So yes and no. There were aspects of the story that I had that still just worked for 2022, and it just happened to work. But I definitely catered to the surroundings and kind of made it more modern because, again, like I wrote that stuff when I'm probably like 10 years old, so I had to like recraft it
Right.
with a more trained mind. So yeah, yes, it did have elements that were already there that were very important to the foundation of it, but I did like craft some things to be more modern. Sorry.
Were you inspired by any people that you knew at the time when you were creating the characters, or were they like directly from your head, or did you kind of base them off of real life people?
That's a good question. There's definitely elements of all of the teammates where parts of them are people I know, or parts of them are me, or parts
Nice.
of them are, like I'm not. I kind of sometimes don't totally like it when like an author puts like their whole self into the character and it's supposed to be like them, and I like a little more. But like I'm just saying, like aspects of a personality of like I just kind of collect you know thing like notes, collect notes on people and things, behaviors. So like any conversation I could be having like anywhere, I could be like, oh, that's something. I just always like file it into like, oh, that's something Kitsune would say, or like that's something Fume would say. I'm gonna put it there, so for later. So that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of putting myself in the comic.
We all no, we all are though. We all are. But I'm just saying, I just want to be like, I want it to be like if I do it, I want it to be more masked. No pun intended.
not me. I kind of put it all out there. My whole origin story based on something that actually happened to me, which is kind
Oh,
of how
right.
the whole character came about.
But if it's
Sat
based
on a
on that,
pencil.
what?
I sat on a pencil.
It injected you with lead, and then you got the powers of.
It was a radioactive pencil in the comic book, but
Nice.
I just like, well, I guess it's my story now. The character kind of is me, so I'm like,
Well, so here's the thing. Oh, I don't want to. I shouldn't. No. So in a way, the character from Shadows, who's kind of the secret main character, is me.
Nice.
oh,
So I did. He's a cooler version of me. Like look at this guy.
That's awesome.
This guy's
that's
badass.
cool.
That's really cool.
But don't tell anybody.
All right, don't tell anybody I'm number 2 pencil man. Shh.
As long as the
As
mask's
I
on,
go
they
around
can't tell.
telling everybody. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, that's
Well,
great.
at least
No,
you
I
can
think,
erase that.
yeah. I
That's
love
true.
the pens. Always live for those. We'll right the wrongs, you know.
You know, I always had an issue. I have an issue with you, number 2 pencil man, because
Do
I'm
you?
left-handed. Yeah, because I'm left-handed, and every time I wrote with a number 2 pencil when I was a kid, I got lead all right here, and I
Oh,
had to
geez.
keep
The
washing it
smudge.
off. No,
That
Man,
I stopped writing with pencils when I was a kid because I that would happen all the time. So when I drew pictures, I would always draw with pen just to make sure that instead of actually learning to pick my hand up off the paper, I'm like, no, 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 I'm just writing with pens now.
man. That's like how my villain origin story would be. You smudged my hand too many times. It's time to get revenge.
There you go.
You gave me a good idea, Adam. I might have to use that.
That
Curse
is a
you,
good
pencil
idea.
man.
Uh, no, I love this. I love hearing about your just all of this, how you were inspired and how you created these characters as a kid and how you just brought them into the future and gave them their own future. It's
Yeah,
really cool to hear.
a literal future, an undefined future. None of us know the year.
Hmm.
Who knows? There's
Probably
flying
better.
cars. There's holograms, there's
That is
flying
cool.
cars, but it is not 2015.
That already came and went. We don't have flying cars yet.
Not yet. Remember the
It's
hoverboard
gonna
thing
happen.
with and people are like on the thing and we're like, what are you doing? There's a wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, why haven't we gotten to the point where we can at least have hoverboards? I mean, that'd be awesome.
Right.
So I had this idea. And I don't think I've ever told anyone this as an adult, but I had this idea as a kid. It probably would never work, but in my kid brain, I was like, this is totally going to work. So like if you create like hover vehicles with like very strong magnets and then have them the reverse you know,
Yeah.
the reverse poles of each other, sorry, I couldn't think of the word, and push them apart so you always have like this strong magnetic field around. It's more like this kind of bumper car sway thing where they never actually hit. They just kind of like move around. No more accidents,
That
everyone's
sounds like fun.
safe. I don't think it'll ever work, but as a kid, I'm like, I invented it, you know?
Oh, our kid selves are so innovative, and
Right.
I love that.
Yes.
I want to check in with Katie. Did you have anything that you wanted to say, Katie?
Oh, Katie's on mute.
Sorry, my hand was under the blanket. Took me a minute there
Oh, no.
to unmute myself. Yeah, I've been loving listening to everybody. It's really fascinating. I guess I'm really curious, Adam, about if there are any particular reasons why you made it part of your focus to um have your readers have to decide about like morality and ethics. I mean, I guess it's pretty normal. I'm sure that's a theme in almost every book that's ever been written, most likely somewhere. Sometimes it's stronger, I think, than in others, but so yeah, I guess I um would like to hear more about that because that's to me that coming from like myself, I with where I've come from in life and everything, and like my personal beliefs and stuff, um, that strikes me as something needed uh by people nowadays in general. So yeah, I just wanted to hear if you had any more thoughts about that part.
Yeah. So it's I guess it comes from the fact that I've always felt like nothing is black and white. There's always shades of gray to everything, and lots of people paint things like they're black and white. And so it's really just kind of a magnifying glass on the fact that you know it's it's really the what the whole story has been about is they've been like kind of doing this from the shadows. They're doing this not they're kind of trying to pull strings without being totally noticed. They are now. They're noticed now, but when they first
Mm.
started, where they're not, because they're not villains, but they're not accepted by society. So they kind of have to hide. They're not accepted by heroes because they're not really abiding by the law. So it's some of it has to do with like what's uh, written as law in this time, what's written as ethical in society, and then what they're doing, how they're going against that. So it's where you yeah, like I'm trying not to reveal too much, but like every person they run into is going to be a different shade of ethical, some
Hmm.
more so than them, some less than them, and you kind of gotta just I guess it's kind of a ride to see kind of where they fall in that spectrum, what
Yeah.
they'll say yes and no to kind of thing.
Mhm.
Just like I've always loved like character like study, behavioral study and stuff, and just like I've always been kind of a people watcher, and like if I'm at a park I definitely like making up stories in my head about the couple on the bench and like how long they've been together and why she's pissed at him, and like so I just enjoy doing that stuff, so yeah, just kind of
Same.
diving into
Um,
That's fun.
maybe this is a weird and dumb question, but I'm just curious if you had any specific city that you were imagining this taking place in, like in the
it's
future of.
it takes place in Washington D.C. for the most part. And
Okay.
so they have like a base kind of underground headquarters in
Hmm.
Washington D.C.
Yeah.
But they branch out to other cities. But the
Okay.
majority of it's taking place there.
Okay. Yeah, I
I didn't
might have
want to
missed
pick
that.
New York. New York's very like all the heroes are in New York. I'm like, let's do
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. That's
Go
smart.
to the White House.
Yeah, New York's got a monopoly on all the heroes for whatever reason.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a small place. I've lived there. It's like not a big area, but
Avengers, Spider-Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, Batman in another universe,
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, pretty much any character in another universe. There's got to be the New York version of them.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, most places or most stories have that New York hero. It's like yeah, a lot of stuff happens there, but like it's a big like country. But you
Hmm.
know, so
Frey, did you have any questions?
Um, what made you choose like the style? Because I know that for your characters, um, I know like for me personally, like to get like the younger people, it seems they're gravitating more towards like an anime style instead.
mhm.
What made you stick with kind of like a Western style?
um, I did want to kind of do an homage to the '90s kind of thing, without totally being a '90s thing, but still having the elements of it. So I did want to stick with that.
Hmm.
Um, and I do have a different creative team on issue 2 than I did on issue 1, but it is more like that, like the '90s kind of thing than
Nice.
Got
the anime thing. I don't know. I like the I like manga and stuff, but I don't know. I think for this story, I think it fits the style of the story.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
Because it's all going to be different. Like there's one character in Hyperforce and in Shadows. His name is the Forest King, and I'm doing a whole side not side thing, a whole different thing on him, where it's going to be a 10-chapter backstory. He's over 1,000 years old, so it's going to be like a chapter per 100 years, and like kind of
Mm.
his character development over the 100 years. But that's going to be a completely different style than this. Like I'll have that make that kind of a more classical, traditional, maybe even partially black and white, um,
Mhm.
style to like more so reflect the tone I'm going for with that. You know.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question, same thing with this. I feel like it kind of works for, even though it's supposed to be a post superhero future, they still have a costume, at least at this point, and they still to be continued, but and they still have elements of that 90s era. So it's kind of like I said, like a tip of the hat to that while moving forward.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And again, going back to when you originally created the characters, like in that time period, I feel like it's very fitting
Exactly.
to even
Exactly.
pay that to them. So,
Exactly. Yeah. But they will be losing their costumes at some point, and they'll be even less
no.
superhero-y looking. Not yet.
Oh,
I'm
Don't worry.
I'm a big superhero fan.
Yeah, no,
I
they still have it in them.
I think
I
it'll be interesting though.
oh, I was just gonna say I definitely really like how grounded it is though. Like I'm a big fan of Sin City and that graphic novel series or whatever it's called, comic, whatever. Um, and I really like how there's like this gritty noir feel to it. Like that's one of my favorite things. Like that's what I always go for when I look for comics, and that was my favorite aspect of it. But just in
Cool.
general, yeah, I'm really curious and intrigued by the character development, especially since you've been talking about it, because like that's very interesting that you're not choosing sides for your characters. That's very intriguing to me.
I'm totally willing to kill all of them off. I just want to throw
I
that
love
out
that.
there.
I could never.
I'm cold.
I could
I'm cold.
never.
A lot. I'm sorry. Like a lot of authors aren't willing to do that, so
I know. I'm trying
That's
to
it's
what
take
very
you
more
say.
interesting when
more
people do that.
risks.
Hmm.
I'm keeping them for a while. Not yet, but they might not all make the finish line. That's all I'm saying.
Everybody dies.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it does make for a good story though, because I used to read The Walking Dead a lot as a younger teenager, and I really enjoyed the storytelling of that because you never knew which character was going to get it, how they were going to get it, and when. It was like any character was unsafe all the way up to the end where like the person that you thought was going to make it didn't. And it's like, what? And
Mhm.
I think there's definitely an element in storytelling that really it really helps to amplify the story and make it more interesting, more thrilling. So I think it is really awesome to do that, and I think it's also a skill because you have to kind of you can't just like I'm gonna kill this guy, this guy, this guy, and then like da, 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 da. You can't just do it like wastefully. You kind of,
Right.
as a storyteller, have to figure out how can I give them the most justice in their death, or how can
Yeah.
I shock everybody in a way that's
Right.
going to catch them off guard and hook them into a whole nother arc where you're trying to drive in maybe a new bad person who you're trying to really get them to hate. And it's a lot of like emotional, like you have to know how to like pull emotions in different directions and how to artfully weave a story together to really make it work. So hey, from my perspective, I don't think I could do it. Would I do it? Probably, if I really wanted to be a good storyteller, find a way to like here and there do it because I feel like it does really hook people. So
Yeah.
my hat, like tip of the hat to you to do something like that because that's going to be difficult, but if you pull it off just right, it's going to show just how skilled you are as a writer going forward. And I definitely, from what you told me and from what we've heard from all the questions and your answers to them, you definitely are a skilled writer. And like just being
Thank
able
you.
to like think of all these different avenues as you're writing is a testament to that. So I just wanted to Double
Yeah.
thumbs
Thank
up
you.
for that.
Appreciate it. I mean, it's really just, I think it boils down to just me being obsessed with the with the story. So I'm like always thinking about it. I'm sure you guys have, everyone who's writing and doing anything creative knows that if you love something, you just like, dwell on it, even, to the point where it's probably unhealthy. So like that being said, like it's easy to eventually uh, think of these, put these things together and think of little side stories and, I don't know.
Mhm.
No,
Definitely.
I love it.
Yeah. But
Super
there's
awesome.
definitely, there's a lot that's going to be going on with this for sure. But yeah, I'm not killing all of them off. But like I said, it's not all peaches and cream or whatever they say.
I like that one. Oh, man.
You're independently published, is that right?
So, for Shadows, I did a self-publish through Amazon, which was not my favorite. Um,
Hmm.
it was something that I could do. It was kind of achievable, and But for Hyperforce, I actually am on Apollo City Comics, which is an indie label. It's an imprint of lesser-known comics. So I published
Is that
Hyperforce.
Brandon?
Yeah, yeah, Brandon Blocksdorf. Yeah, so his
Okay.
his label, and so I published Hyperforce through Apollo City Comics and Nocturnal Rabbit Guy, which is a little side story of Hyperforce. This is I'll just show real quick. This is like an 8-year-old kid who does have super abilities, but he doesn't really know how to use them yet, and he's just a kid. So it's kind of like a day in the life of him. So it's just like a one shot for now, but maybe something in the future.
That's cool.
He's the Batman of your universe.
Nocturnal Rabbit Guy.
Nocturnal Rabbit Guy.
You
I
could do
could
So
like
hear
a
it.
that's, yeah.
crossover.
So with him, I hope I get to do more with him because Nocturnal Rabbit Guy is like a name that he's created for this character because he's a kid. He's like not it's not the coolest name, but he's gonna grow up and he's gonna like understand his full power set and he'll be renamed eventually. So he'll have an actual name kind of thing. But yeah, for now he's like kid like I'm Nocturnal Rabbit Guy. Like and people are like all right, all
That's
right,
awesome.
kid. Yeah.
Get the Nocturnal Rabbit signal up.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Frey, were you gonna say something?
Well, I was thinking, would you ever bring that character into the Hyperforce?
We Nocturnal Rabbit Guy.
Yes, like a
I
crossover, maybe
believe.
just like
Yeah, he's going to be in issue 4. I believe he's going to make a little cameo because
okay,
I'm trying to tie it all together.
bringing out the inner secrets for the future plans.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm just a
loving
big
this.
nerd. I just think about this stuff all day. That's all I do.
Same.
Yeah.
I get
But
that. Oh, that's awesome. I want to go back to something else that you said. I know that this is also mostly for the comic, but you did say about music.
yes.
And I'm actually surprised Rachel didn't bring this up sooner.
I've been wanting to. I'm just waiting for other people to talk.
Oh.
We want to know,
I
what
can talk
made you
about
get into music?
Yeah, I'm just
music. I don't know. I think it was just like the time of my life. Like I started playing guitar around like late 14 or early 15 years old. So like I was just like really getting into music. I was like, I don't know. My interests were just shifting. I was getting older and, it was a weird time in life and you're just trying to figure yourself out and so I got really that's just, my focus changed and I just started obsessing instead of overdrawing over like playing the guitar and like playing chords over and over and over again until I just got them right. And just, I had friends who played really well and would come over and show off, and it drove me crazy. So I'm like, one day I'm going to play better than you. And I did. No. but, but yeah, no, I just fell in love with music. And so the thing that I kind of, was I guess was more of an epiphany to me later in life is I always considered myself like an artist, like from being a kid and drawing all the time and like coming up with these like comic worlds and these different stories and stuff. But then as I started like songwriting, because I was the guitarist and singer of almost all the bands that I was a part of, but not all. I was background vocals in a couple, but it was always like my focus to be the vocalist and lyricist. And I guess I don't know why it was so like just lost on me, but it wasn't until more recently I was like, you know what? I've just been a storyteller this whole time. Like I've changed mediums, but I've always just wanted to tell a story, whether it was through like a song or a picture or because I love painting and stuff, but I'm not great at any of those things. I'm just like I enjoy expressing myself. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to refocus on this other thing. And it's not, so I was nervous as I started getting into writing comics. And I'm like, you know what? I've always been writing. I just have to figure out how to work in this format. Like I've always been building characters and building ideas and stories. So anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent again. But yeah, music is something I just like. I started writing these lyrics and I did do poetry and stuff before I started playing guitar, so I just was fitting that into the music format, which my lyrics have always been more poetic than like classically lyrical. A little more abstract, a little more maybe doom and gloomy and some stuff. But yeah, so it wasn't a hard transition for me to get into like songwriting from like poetry. So I guess it was just like the kind of roadblock of like learning to play guitar well enough to where people wanted to listen to the lyrics. you know but
Do you perform your music now at all?
no, I haven't. I play like for myself kind of. I mean, I still play
Mhm.
sometimes, but it might be like once every other week, which is really sad because I used to like practice multiple times a week and have shows and stuff. So like knowing that like it's such a different, it almost seems like not me anymore, kind of. It's like, who am I now? But um I know who I am. I write shadows in Hyperforce. Yeah.
Um, you ever heard of the band Coheed and Cambria?
Yes.
Yes. So Coheed and Cambria, for people that don't know Coheed and Cambria, my favorite band of American band of all time.
Okay.
Um, their music is actually like it was the soundtrack to their comic series.
I'm aware of
Like
this.
Cool.
all their CDs were part of that. Wherever like they told a different story of their comics as
I was
they
I was a
continued.
big fan of that
Eventually they
actually.
got out of that, but huh?
I'm
I'm
sorry, I
sorry,
said
say again.
I was a big fan of that actually. That was Coheed and Cambria, all the album art and yeah.
Yes. So that's what I was thinking for you, so you don't lose, because I think like that creativity is awesome, making music. Maybe you could do like soundtracks for Hyperforce with your music.
That'd be cool.
That is
You
something I've
should.
already been working on.
Oh,
Um
Nice.
darn it!
We're
I
really doing
but
ruined
a
any
deep
plans.
dive here.
Sorry.
and that's a great point. But in the spirit of Coheed and Cambria, I do have to say that AdamMatthewSmith.com. If you go to AdamMatthewSmith.com, I do have an album that I produced and did all the stuff on in 2011. That I spent 5 years in the studio making this album after my band before that broke up, and I put like my heart and soul into it for like 5 years. And then at the end of that time, I was like, I hate this. I hate everything. And I played a couple shows, but I never really like played it out. And I kind of like buried it. And it's amazing. And I'm so proud of it. I think to this day, it's probably like the thing I'm most proud of. So what it is a 12-track album that is a concept album, a lot like Coheed and Cambria would do. So
Mhm.
it's a concept album it's a story from track 1 to track 12. It's a Shakespearean-esque romantic tragedy that I hope to one day, with your anime question, make into an anime musical.
Ooh,
Uh,
cool.
I know this is very dreams of grandeur type thing, but That
No,
is
dream it up. Dream it up.
that is a major goal of mine. I really want it to happen, but I don't talk about it much. But yeah, Speechless and Sleepless Dreams will be an anime one day.
I
Nice.
love that name. No, speak it into existence. Get it out there. If it's a dream of yours, pursue it. It'll
Yeah,
all
Mhm.
fall into place. If you keep chasing your dreams, it's all
I
gonna work.
hope
That's
so.
all I gotta say.
Never know. You never know. But anyway, yeah.
Hey,
So yes, Coheed's awesome. That is very cool what they did with the comic book storyline. I always wanted to do a concept album. They were one of the inspirations for that. So the fact that I was able to pull that off, I'm still to this day like that's my favorite thing. Like I know I've done this cool stuff too, but like that is my favorite thing for sure.
Mhm.
that's incredible. And you said it's on your website.
Yeah, it's I have most of my bands listed. Not all of them have the music on there for different reasons, but the Speechless and Sleepless Dreams album is from 2011. That's totally on there. From you can listen to all the tracks. But
Very cool. Audience, do your thing.
That's
We
right.
don't have a
yeah,
big audience yet, but one day, audience from the future,
I'mMatthewSmith.com. Right. Look at
do
this.
it.
Look, click
Let's
the
make
link
it happen.
below.
There it
It will be in the link below.
Link in
Yes, check
bio.
it out.
is.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
that's awesome. No,
Yeah.
I'm a big no, I'm big into dreams, and this is one of the reasons that we have this podcast. I've said it before, but it's just like if we can help any indie creator make their dreams come true, that's what we want to do. So
It's
Mhm.
awesome
do
you
it,
guys are doing
chase it.
this. So
We're here for
can you guys all talk a minute about what each of you do like creatively?
it. Sure, if you want us to. I mean,
Is that
who wants
weird
to
for me to
start?
like ask that during this? But
No, actually, it's like kind of a shameless plug segment.
yeah,
Yep.
let's do it. Plug
Let's
away.
do it
Starting
early.
with Frey.
Yeah,
Me?
Frey.
I'm Tanner's B. He
What?
makes me do a lot of work.
See?
He's my
No,
artist,
I'm the artist, so I do Tanner's number 2 pencil man. I also have my own series in Lock.
which is
That's a
amazing.
manga series.
That's
I have
awesome.
3 volumes, working on 4. Recently I've gotten into creating games, board games, tabletop
Cool.
games. I have a game called Official Verse that I put out. We're on season number 2. Just came out last year.
Nice.
And then I just go to
What
different conventions, do artwork, prints, commissions, etc., etc.
what kind of game? The tabletop.
It is a tabletop 2v2 fighting game. So currently we have a roster of, I think it's 25. I'm up to 25 now. Completely original characters, minus number 2 pencil man, who is a guest in the game.
He put me in his game.
That's
Um,
awesome.
It's like a strategy game mixed with a card game. So you have 2 characters, and you have to try to eliminate your opponent. Each character has arrows on them where it can show where they can attack and defend. And you have to move into an area on the opponent's card where they don't have an arrow, so they can't defend, so you can get direct damage off of them.
That sounds
And then
fun.
you have, yeah, it is.
It's
It's
very
like
fun.
2v2 like Mortal Kombat basically on a tabletop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
And
I
then you
love
have
that.
your trading cards and your deck cards to like kind of level up your characters, heal them, etc., etc.
Mod 'em.
Yeah.
Mod
Yeah, it's a
cards.
cool game.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
And then I started doing custom cards too as commissions. So if you
Custom
want to have like a
cards.
character made for your game when you get it, then I can do that.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And that's it for me.
That's a good one. That was a pretty good all
That's a
compressed.
great one, yeah. What about the
Let's go
rest of
next.
these?
Katie, do you want to go?
Yeah, you go.
She
Gotta pull
has
her
to
arm out.
unmute it now.
Yeah, I've been moving around. I'm like, there's traffic going by. It's like too much noise on my end. So, thanks for asking, by the way. I am the least productive out of the four of us,
Not true.
but I'm working on it. So I am writing a story, actually historical fiction. The end goal is a anime inspired graphic novel sort of thing, I guess. So it's set in the Regency era because I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, and so I guess I'm trying to give it the multiple layered grand scale themes of anime, but also have a lot of Regency era details throughout, I
That
guess.
sounds fun. I like
So
that.
um 7 different ladies get magical powers to help save England from this bad dude and his cronies. um and Jane Austen has her part to play in the whole thing as well.
So
And
Jane Austen's the character in your Jane Austen inspired story.
yes.
That's meta.
It yeah, I think so. It does feel very big. Uh Jane Austen called her 6 major novels, which I think are her most well-known works that I'm aware of because she wrote other stuff too. She called them her own darling children. And yeah, I uh I feel like that with this story. Like it's always on my mind, even if it's not directly, but it's always there. And it literally feels like I'm trying to give birth to something. It just
Yeah.
um
Oh
it's
gosh.
fascinating. Um and I've tried to write in the past, but this one feels like I'll be able to actually complete it. I don't know when. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm going to need an artist at some point because I don't draw well enough and I don't know anything about graphic art. I just am writing the storyline and like the character formation and stuff. Um, so there's still a whole lot that needs to be done with it, but at least I'm working on it, and it just feels good to create something that feels truly entertaining and maybe meaningful too. So we'll see how it goes.
That's
And
awesome.
also, I do have a dream of it becoming an anime at some point because I never even thought I would try to write a storyline for something graphic. I always thought I would stick with just black and like just words. So so that's new for me.
That's
Um,
cool.
but I keep seeing it kind of like a movie in my head. So I guess graphic novel is the closest thing I can get to that, other than an actual animation. So
Very cool. Yeah, some things you just they look like or they seem like they would be better aesthetically than other things. Like I really want to see what this looks like. You know,
yeah,
these things that happen. So that's really cool. Congratulations.
Plus, she's a great poet. I mean, she didn't talk
Mhm.
much about her poetry, but she's been writing for years, and her poetry has always been fantastic.
Nice.
Just want to put that in there too.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure that helps in the writing in general, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can say that I mentioned the Forest King thing. It's called Legend of the Forest King. I'm writing. It's historical fiction, so the first thing. It's kind of the opposite of Hyperforce, where I can kind of make anything up, and as long as I'm being vague, it's like that's fine. But like with
Mhm.
this, with the other story, it's like it's been much more taxing. I've been working on it for a while because, and I'm sure you can agree with this, Katie. But like when you're trying to do something historically, at least semi historically accurate, you want to have as many facts checked as possible because people will be looking like, actually, you want to have all those
Mhm.
like bases covered, right? So it's not as easy as like, oh, it's in whatever future time. Like so it has been like very very like trying to make sure that like these are actually happening. And then when I've read, because this story is taking over a millennium, like it's starting around the Viking times. And it's hard to fact check that stuff, and Google says a lot of different things depending on the sources. So it's, you have to really like, you know yeah, I totally, that's a lot. That's a lot to take. So good luck.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And it's fun stylistically getting into like genre. Yeah, I mean time period genre to stuff. Yeah. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I didn't. I told Hannah recently I didn't know how much of a Jane Austen fan I was until I started writing this. It's just funny.
I
All
saw
the
a
details,
movie.
you know.
I forget what the name of the movie is, but I feel like I recently saw a movie where like a lady goes into a Jane Austen getaway. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a movie
No,
where like what's it called?
is it Austin Land?
Yes, Austen
Mm,
Land.
Oh my
hmm.
god, it's so funny.
Yeah, and she like goes into this like Jane Austen like getaway, and it just gets like really crazy.
It's gonna be one of my favorite movies, at least comedies.
It's
I
pretty.
love
It was funny. It was very funny. But if you haven't seen it, you
Tanner,
might want to check that out. Sorry.
yeah, Katie, you would love it if you haven't seen it.
I've been wanting to see it, and I just haven't yet. So I'll have to make
You
that happen.
That'll be on the list to watch.
my sister had it on one night, so I sat down and sat halfway through it, and then I had to watch it again. Like the next night, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so funny."
I
That
think it was
one
on
act,
Max or something. It's like on a streaming service right now, but I was like, oh, I'll check it out, and it was pretty funny.
great.
Oh boy,
Uh,
I'd like that too.
yes. Tanner, do you want to talk?
I'll let you go.
What?
I'll let you
Am I
go
going?
first.
I'm going? Okay. So I'm a musician and I go by the stage name of Andromeda. I'm currently working on a third album, so that's called Glass Wings. And I am also a poet and an author, so I'm writing a novel right now. I'm actually in the rewriting phase, so that's like it's you think it's gonna only take like a month or a month and a half, and it's like I just get so deep into it. So now I'm hopefully going to have it out by this spring, and it's called Goddess of War, and it's about a young woman who is in New York City. I lived in New York City, so that kind of inspired that, and she gets involved with the guy and she goes out to the Hamptons and it ends up being not what she expects it to be. So it's a romantic thriller. So it's a pretty exciting and tedious process.
That sounds cool.
Thank you.
Sounds very cool. You when did you live in New York?
I lived in New York, let me think, about
Or
10
not
years
when? I'm
ago.
sorry. Where did you live? Not when.
Where I lived in Midtown, so I lived in
Oh
on
wow,
34th and Broadway, and then I
that's
lived
nice.
on the Upper West Side. So like on
Wow.
I think it was 71st Street, beside Riverside and Amsterdam, or is it Broadway? I can't remember what it was. The
That's
Upper West Side. Where did you
very
live? You mentioned you.
yeah. I was over in Bushwick,
Oh,
kind of
okay. Yep.
out of the way. Yeah, you live very like central to everything. That's awesome.
Yeah. I got like full New York City experience, and I
Yeah.
had a studio out in Bushwick
Okay.
in Brooklyn. So yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
little familiar with that area as well.
Yeah. It was cool. It
It's
was cool
kind of
out
an
there, but
yeah, it's nice. I mean, like in Bushwick, it's like there's a lot of art there. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like I was in a kind of an art studio, like with a set up with a big kind of renovated warehouse, and they'd have weekends where they would just open up everybody's studio and people could just walk through and see it. It was pretty exciting.
yeah, there were a lot of artists who lived there in Bushwick.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's
Hmm.
the studios,
Just
but
like
like a lot of people like lived in those neighborhoods, and
yep,
it was cool.
totally,
It was
totally.
cool. And what kind of music do you play?
Um, well, I guess it's technically considered Baroque pop, so it's kind of like I write everything on a piano. And
Okay,
so it's piano and voice at first, and I want every song to kind of hold its own on a piano and vocals, but then I add a lot of layers of like synthesizer and orchestra and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a mashup of a lot of different genres all at once. But it has kind
very
of
cool.
a little bit of classical flair, but also has like a synthetic flair.
Okay, cool. That sounds awesome. At
Thanks.
It's good
first,
stuff.
when you were saying it, I was thinking Dresden Dolls, but that probably isn't what you're
Not
going
familiar.
for.
I have no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've been compared a little bit to Enya, so maybe that would be
Oh, Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, different though. Like I think I'm more modernized, obviously, than that. But
So kind of more like dreamy.
yeah,
Um,
like it goes into like a dream pop, baroque pop, technically. I mean, like in the sky gods of music genres, they categorize it as dream pop or baroque pop, and they compared it
Gotcha.
to Kate Bush and Maisie Starr. So
Ooh, both
that
good.
was the comparisons. Yeah,
Okay. Very cool.
thank you,
It is good music too,
thank you,
by the
Tam.
way. I'm a big fan.
I have to check it
Thanks.
out. Do you have a website I could check out?
Yeah, you can go to andromedatheartist.com.
Okay.
And
It'll
where is
be in.
that book going to be?
What's that?
And what website's that book going to be on?
Oh, the book. So you can check out the first chapter at elegantbomb.com, and that's where my writings and poetry are. So the book's not finished yet, so that's obviously not up, but that will be up there soon too. Hopefully soon.
Cool. Cool.
Frey, you also forgot to say where your website was too.
It's just furryofficial.com. Everything's furryofficial.com.
Nice. Yeah. Keep it all the same. Make it easy.
It does help.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good stuff. I guess I'll go last.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tanner. I am a
Feel like we're in a
writer,
support group for
storyteller.
artists or something.
Yeah. This is Indie Anonymous. Well, I guess we're not anonymous. We're saying our names,
Yeah.
so hi. No, I am a storyteller. A creative storyteller is what I call myself. I write and create storylines. So I'd say most notably for Number Two Pencil Man right now, it's my only published works that I have. I'm self-published. I go through Comics Wellspring.
Nice.
It wasn't my original dream as a kid to make a pencil superhero. I just wanted to make comics and different stories about all different characters. Like Frey, I get a lot of character ideas and then I like kind of create stories based around them. That's how I do a majority of my creative storytelling, and also how I do my content creation when I did my YouTube, which is how Number Two Pencil Man came about. Had a story. Well, actually, that's the first character I did on YouTube, and he actually started with the story and then became a character. Where normally it's the other way around. I get the character and then I have a story. So that's an interesting point. I never really
Hmm.
thought about that till now. But I do YouTube as well. Not as much right now. I'm going to start my own podcast on there to kind of help revive that channel. Being a father now of about a year and 3 months, it's been hard to make the time to make a whole production like I used to. And I used to do like cheesy YouTube skits, kind of like to capture what the golden age of YouTube used to be, like Smosh and all of those creators back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah, had a lot of influence with like cartoons influenced me as a kid. YouTube, all of it kind of helped mold the creative storytelling that I kind of strive for today, which has that fun, witty sense to it, but then also has a good, compelling storyline. That's kind of my whole thing, but has that humor and the cartoon magic that it just, those kind of things used to have. So that's like my main thing. I'm working on a children's book currently, which I wrote in high school. So this kind of correlates with what you kind of did. For my senior art project, I painted and wrote my own children's book, and I just kind of put it on the shelf. I had it all done. It was my senior art project. I put like a small compilation book together for my senior art show. I had it pretty much ready to go. I just had no knowledge of like publishing it or anything back in the time, so I just kind of shelved it. And for 10 years, it sat in a room, perfectly preserved somehow. Uh, and I just now got it back out. So Frey's helping me format that as well, and I'll
Cool.
have my children's book from 10 years ago
That's awesome.
published hopefully soon. And
Very cool.
yeah, hopefully
That's
continue
something
creating
I've
more
always wanted to do. Like a kids book is so cool, and reaching a crowd like that, and such formative years, like to be able to write something that can like possibly inspire somebody or like help, mold their mind kind of thing is super cool.
Exactly. That's what I like to do. Like I keep a lot of my writing family friendly. So I know your target audience for Hyperforce and Shadows is more 18 plus, and I definitely enjoy a good 18 plus story. But for me, it's like the things that really shaped my imagination as a kid were cartoons, and cartoons were like family friendly. So you had the kids that
Sure.
was like, I guess, the primary targets, but then you also had the parents that would sit and watch it with them. And even nowadays, you have a lot of adults that watch cartoon. And I think that also goes into why people love anime. It kind of has something, maybe maybe that spark that they used to see in the cartoons is in the anime, which I think so, because to me, they both go hand in hand. Like a lot of the old cartoons I used to watch, I watch anime now, and I'm like, oh yeah, the storytelling capabilities are there. It's something about that cartoon magic, though, for me, that shaped my mind that I want to kind of impart to the next generation. Because there are some shows nowadays that are just kind of like, eh, they don't have the great storylines. I feel like a lot of the mainstream doesn't have the power of the storytelling anymore. It's like they kind of just compromised it for money, being able to just kind of use that nostalgia and just reproduce something that isn't necessarily quality anymore in a way. Like they kind of take the heart out of it just to reproduce something, to get a feeling, to get people to watch it, but it doesn't always have that same effect. Now, some of it does turn out okay, and there are still those gems in it, so I'm not trying to knock all of the new mainstream stuff, but there's like a lot of the stuff nowadays, it doesn't have that wit, it doesn't have the cleverness, the cunning, the storyline. It's just like kind of lacking, and I want to help bring that back with my writings and help to shape the minds of younger people to continue to dream like this, to have that, I don't know, to kind of get the same thing I got out of it. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but to help inspire their own stories with soul and personality and wit and wisdom and just, I don't know, something like that. That's kind of what I write for and what my main goal is for it, and to also encourage people that they can do it too.
Absolutely.
So
Anyone can do it as long as they really like. I think anyone can do anything they can put their mind to as long as it's like humanly achievable. It's just really about like willpower and perseverance. I mean, which is the same thing, really. So just that.
oh
um,
yeah.
so yeah, it's true. There are a lot of like newer cartoons that are very uninspired and bland, kind of feeling, tasting, after you watch it, you're like, all right, like, yeah, it doesn't have the same feel, the same warmth, sometimes heart, that older stuff has, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely true.
Oh yeah.
What are
Well,
some of your
here.
favorite cartoons as a kid?
Yeah, so I grew up a lot with Cartoon Network. That was my main, I'd say, cartoon outlet for a long time, back when they had, like, some of the Boomerang stuff was on there still. So Dexter's Laboratory, they had The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, they
Oh yeah,
had
yeah.
Codename Kids Next Door, Ben 10, the original run. Toonami was on, that's where I found anime. Naruto was on there, so those cartoons were some of the ones that I got the first hand exposure to, like Teen Titans, when the original Teen Titans was on. Like,
Yeah,
great
that was
show, great
fun.
artwork. It had like that anime style to it as an American cartoon, and I really loved Teen Titans. It was one of my favorites on Cartoon Network back then. And then of course they had Clone Wars when that started up. Like, I'm a big Star Wars fan, as I probably seen with my lightsaber chopstick that
Yeah, I saw
I
that. That's
have.
cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's like huge Star Wars fan too. So I mean, even like movies like that inspired my imagination. Because Aliens. Seeing that as a kid, I was like, oh man, what's the word? I was captivated by Chewbacca. Apparently, that's how I got into Star Wars. Was I came home and my parents had Nickelodeon and the Kids' Choice Awards was on, and Chewbacca was on giving an award, and I just sat down in front of the TV and just watched it because it's a big Wookiee person.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's just like things like that is what kind of got me started. Like, there were so many more cartoons too, and of course I watched my fair share of the stupid humor ones like SpongeBob and all those, but the ones that really stuck with me were the ones that actually had storylines. And of course, it wasn't just cartoons too. Like, I played a lot of video games as a kid. I loved Nintendo a lot as well, because I don't know, there was something about what Nintendo produced that was super alluring, which was they had the good storylines, they were innovators in the dimes, and I really enjoyed that cartoon, that storytelling feel that they had. So video games, cartoons, movies, not as much movies, I'd say, but those were the biggest inspirations to me growing up.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I liked a lot of the Cartoon Network from that era. That was really good. And I think a lot of the cartoons now are like trying to replicate the magic that some of those cartoons had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just falling flat. I mean, some of it's kind of fun, but yeah, it doesn't have the same formula, I guess, as what they had to make it so good before. So
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Oh, and all that's available on tannersTalesEntertainment.com. Just put that out there before I forget. But I want to get back to you, Adam,
Yes, sorry,
because
sorry.
you have no, I enjoyed it. That's actually the first time I think a guest actually like flipped it on us and was like, "Hey, how about you talk about yourselves?" It's like, oh man, none of us saw that coming. How about
Did
that,
an
gang?
Uno reverse on you?
We love it. No, this is great. But I want to get back into Hyperforce because there's another reason that you wanted to come on here.
Ah,
So I pulled
yes.
up the cover art for issue 1, but tell us the big news that you have. What is going on? I guess it would have
Yes.
already come out by now, but
Well, so I just started my campaign, my Kickstarter campaign for Hyperforce issue 2. So there will be a link in bio and all that. But yeah, issue 2 is now live on Kickstarter. So anybody
should I
who's
go to the screen?
interested in checking that out, or yeah, go ahead and throw it on screen. This
Boom.
is issue 2 of Hyperforce. So this is the creative team of not only me, but Jay Red doing the pencil and ink, and Bob Little doing the coloring. And so we have them as a creative team for the whole issue. It's not just the cover. Jay Red did the variant cover on Hyperforce issue 1, which was this. It's the variant for Hyperforce issue 1. So he's actually doing the all of the line art for issue 2, and it looks amazing.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Very
Yeah,
Wow.
I
excited.
like that. How do we get your comics?
So
Like,
I made everything pretty accessible through AdamMatthewSmith.com. So that's
mm,
kind of like the hub for everything, even though you can't necessarily purchase things specifically off of that site. You can go to the Shadows book on Amazon through that site, or through to Apollo City Comics through that site. So you can get to Hyperforce issue 1 and soon Hyperforce issue 2 and Nocturnal Rabbit Guy, as well as other cool books from artists from the Apollo City Comics label. So yeah, everything throughout at MatthewSmith.com you can find for me, whether it's music or the books I'm working on or whatnot.
awesome.
But yeah, it's all out there somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Adam, I just wanted to ask because I didn't get a chance to ask this question. So
Sure.
from Shadows to Hyperforce issue 1 to Hyperforce issue 2, how
Mhm.
much time in between each release has there been?
Not the time in the book, the actual real time that I was able
Yeah,
to
like
put it
real
out.
life time.
So I released Shadows in 2022,
Okay.
and Hyperforce issue 1 was in 2024. I had it done, like the art and stuff for Hyperforce issue 1 done in 20, was it 2023? Yeah, but in 2023, but I didn't start the Kickstarter for it until I think February it was for 2024. So between like starting the Kickstarter, getting all this stuff out for it, that's kind of when it came out. But the artwork was done in 2023, so I guess it was really, for the release, it was 2 years between the issue 1 and Shadows, but for it to be done was like a year, I guess.
nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
No, that was just my own personal
issue
question.
2 now, 2025. I'm hoping to get to 2 issues a year, but right now it's looking like 1. So we'll see. It's like we said earlier, it's like really tough to like
Yeah.
get all the gears working and then financially getting things happening and all of that. So it'll happen. It just, takes time. And with
Yeah.
anything good, it takes patience, whether you're a painter or a landscaper. I don't know.
No, it's true. Landscaping is an art as well.
It,
So if
it
you're a
takes time.
landscaper and you want to come on this
Yeah,
podcast,
right.
hit us up.
Exactly. Some good landscapers out there, but it takes time. You can't just takes dedication, all that. So
No, I applaud that, actually. Let's get this applaud going. Okay, that's
all
enough
right,
of that.
quiet down, everybody.
Yeah. No, Adam, it's been amazing, like, to hear your story. As a fellow comic book writer, I feel very inspired hearing your story, hearing how you came up with these concepts back in the 90s, before I was born. Uh, and
Back when
just,
the
like,
dinosaurs
seeing it.
roamed.
Yeah, for all I know, yes, absolutely. But to like see it that you brought this to life after all those years, like really inspires me in my own story because similarly falling away from the art and then finally like just realizing it's what I always wanted to do and coming back, it's been yeah, like I said, huge encouragement to see like somebody else who's doing it and who has their own style, their own story, and it's just like so unique. Like we read through most of us here has read through issue 1 and it's great storytelling. I gotta actually get on Shadows. I wanted to get Shadows before this, but I didn't get a chance to yet. But at some point I will be reading Shadows to like see how like the whole universe kind of like goes like together through Shadows and then Hyperforce issue 1, and of course when issue 2 comes out, I'll be right there on that train as well. So
Awesome. I
super excited.
appreciate the interest for sure. And I tried to write issue 1 to where you don't have to necessarily read Shadows to pick up and kind of know where
Hmm.
like kind of figure out what's going on. But Shadows is a completely different story with some characters that aren't even in this, so it'll be a whole nother kind of fun thing to jump into. But did
No,
you
that's
guys,
exciting.
not
Cool.
having read Shadows, did you feel that um you kind of understood overall everything that was happening with the story and got a sense of who the characters were in those 24 pages? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I had no idea there was something supposed to, go before that. So it didn't even occur to me that I was missing something.
that's great to hear, because I always hope that.
Hmm.
But I don't know what people, in my head it all makes sense, but I'm like, I don't know outside of my head what people are perceiving the way I'm meaning it to be
No, you
perceived.
did a
So
great job.
that's great.
Great
Thank you.
storytelling, man. Like seriously,
Thank
like
you.
I am hyped to continue to dive into this universe as it continues to come out. I know you gained a fan in number 2 Pencil Man for sure.
Sorry that I turned out to be your arch enemy, the Pen
It's all
Man.
right. I can overlook it at least for this podcast and while reading your books. But other than that, we might not speak ever again. I don't know. I
I
doubt that.
injected myself with poisonous ink, and now I am Pen Man.
Actually, the first villain is going to be a pen, so shh.
Oh, perfect. I mean,
Um,
classic.
the old
What
school
color
debate:
pen
which
though?
writing
A
you
red
think is better?
one, a blue
It's going
one?
to be black ink pen.
It will, because
Yeah,
if it was one of these guys,
that might
that
be
could
something in the future.
present a lot of problems.
Yeah, I've thought of it before. That'll be a character in the future for sure. But
Nice.
oh man, I guess to wrap it all up, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or promote? I mean, we basically went over it. Your Kickstarter is alive officially.
Kickstarter is
Where can
live,
they
issue
find it?
2. So once again, adammatthewsmith.com. You can find a link to the Kickstarter, if not on Instagram in my little link tree there. Um, anywhere that you can find me on social media, there will be a link in the bio to my website, which will be a hub for whatever. So I have right now on my homepage of my website, I have the Kickstarter link. So it'll send you right there. And I have a discography if you want to check out the music. I have old pictures. I have all sorts of random stuff for all the cyber stalkers out there.
Very
Nice.
nice. Very nice. Well, Adam, it was a great time. Let me get the screen down. It was a great time getting to know you, getting to hear about your creative works. And on socials, just to clarify, because we've talked about your website, is it Adam Matthew Smith under all socials pretty much?
It is.
The one and only Adam Matthew. Everybody go check him out. Go follow him. He's been a fantastic guest, very encouraging, very inspiring.
It's been a lot of fun,
Um,
guys. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're enjoying Indie Synergy Exchange, dreamers, make sure that you hit that follow, hit that subscribe, thumbs us up. Thumbs us up, yeah. It's great grammar, Tanner. Be sure to interact with us. There's a lion on the screen. I love it. Be sure to interact with us, share us, help get the word out there. Let's build this platform for indies. We're going to become the biggest indie platform for all indie creators of all kinds. And if you are an indie creator of any kind and you want to be on the show, reach out to us. That means if you're an artist, musician, business, you could be a landscaper, anything that we'd consider art, which creation, which is pretty much anything. It could really be anything. If you are interested in being on this, hit us up. We would love to have you on the show. We'd love to interview, give you a spotlight, let you share your creative passions with the world. And yeah, all that can be done is if we band together. So help us out, dreamers, and be sure to follow us on our audio platforms as well. Podbean being the main one right now. Maybe by this time that this one's up, it'll be on Spotify. Still working on that. But anyway, follow us under the Dreamscape Empyrean. That is our group name. The podcast is Indie Synergy Exchange. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So until next time, dreamers, we shall see you later.